Alright, next thing I'm going to look at or start looking at is the exhaust on this bike. I really don't like the stock Softail exhaust. I don't like these cross pipes very much. I don't like this back pipe especially, so I'm going to look at doing something totally different on here. First thing I got to do is pull all these heat shields off. I think I'll have to pull the hose clamps off completely, undo them all the way, and we'll just see what holds these things on. I've never actually taken heat shields off or installed them before, so it's always interesting to see how this stuff is actually put together under the surface. And this one's a bit rusty and seized. Not much to it, really. Not much to it. That's how they work there. That's pretty darn basic. Looks like another one should go in there, or could have gone in there. Yeah, it's hard to see what's what here with all this stuff on. Well, it looks like this cross pipe is actually bolted together. I thought that they were solid. I think some bikes they are, maybe, but maybe I'm wrong on that. This side here goes on from underneath. I think somebody put this hose clamp on upside down because it's kind of hard to get to compared to the others. Driver on there now, make it a little quicker, hopefully. There we go. Yeah, this stock Softail exhaust has got to go. I do not like it very much. I mean, it works well, serves its purpose well. But I want to do something custom on here that's going to look cool and different. Sort of different, older maybe. More old school. Boy, these hose clamps are really wrapped around there. There we go. Kinda. These pipes are a bit rusty. Definitely a nicer shape where you don't have the heat covers on. Oh, there's one back there. need the ratchet. It's pretty tight, that one. Got this super handy wobbly 1/4 inch extension. Very handy. Got it from Napa. Doesn't have a part number on it. It's not Ultra Pro, it's the Evercraft brand. But it came with a longer one too. Used for this actually. I've got this really nice Craftsman 1/4 inch ratchet that my daughter Clover, I think, she found it at her school, and it is pretty cool. It was really seized solid. It was under the swings in the playground, buried in sand. I had to take it apart and clean it out and oil it and get it working again, and it works really well now. And these heat shields do definitely work well. I burnt my leg on one of them last year, and I've burnt my legs on unheat shielded exhaust, and yeah, you get burned way faster, way worse if there's no heat shields on. Okay, those are the heat shields. So next I'm going to take the mufflers off, and I will remember which is which, because the front one is dented here from somebody leaning the bike too hard at one point, and there's also some melted boot of mine on here. So not that I don't think it matters what's what, but you never know. I like to just keep track of where things come from. You know what it is? Stupid me. Of course, the muffler's mounted back here too, to the bracket. Of course, that's why it's not coming right off. That's real smart of me, isn't it? Now it's just gonna fall right off once I take this bolt out. Like I said, it's just gonna fall right out. Right, come on. Still a bit hard to get off. There we go. A lot of goop in there. It's silver, I think it's anti-seize or something like that, which is probably a good idea to have on there. One thing I love about motorcycles is how quick you can take them apart. That old shovel head of mine, that's my dad's bike now, which if you guys follow my sister, Red Rider, you'll know the bike. When I got that bike, I stripped the whole thing down in like 4 hours. It was just the basic components, and another couple hours, and I cleaned the engine and transmission and sorted everything. It was pretty darn easy. Whoops, hitting everything. I put my hand there so it'll smack my hand instead of the nice parts. don't want to bang up the chrome on my ratchet either. I do the same thing, believe it or not, when I'm parking somewhere, opening the door to my vehicle. I'll put my hand around the edge of my door so that if anything gets crushed, it's not the next guy over paint job, it's my hand. Maybe I'm just too nice, I don't know. Yeah, I remember I had a swivel handle ratchet here, so I totally banged it right out of the way. Like picking a lock, you gotta have patience, kind of get a feel for what the thing wants to do, how it wants to actually come off of there. And man, this pipe is really on there. Yeah. Thing with exhaust is it really squishes together when you clamp it. So I'm just gonna kind of work this thing in a circle, and that'll spread the end on the muffler little by little, because they got these notches in, 4 of them. There we go. Come on. There we are. That end's been pretty squished on there. Yeah, look at that. It's a tiny version of the other one. I may be changing these out, by the way, and you'll have to see. My sister, Red Rider, is, well, and my dad actually, they're technically his parts, but I bought some for the shovel head project, and they never got used on there. They went with something else, more era correct on that bike, but I think I'm going to be getting the old ones back. And they're actually not old, they're new, but they look old. But you'll have to see when I get them. It'll have to be a surprise. That's something I keep forgetting with this thing, is I can actually get wrenches in all over the place. Now that nut is a bit rusted. I hope it doesn't turn the stud out. You know what? I think it is. Oh, it's not. Looks like it's. I could have sprayed some Deep Creep lubricant on there or something. Look at how shiny this oil bucket is. Despite never having cleaned it, except, well, once actually. Last summer when I bought this bike, I cleaned this bike once. And never since. And I took my first road test on it in a rainstorm, like hurricane kind of rainstorm. And it just got absolutely filthy. It was so shiny and clean before that. And then few days after my road test, I was out practice riding with some friends, and my voltage regulator, I guess, was faulty, and it had just killed my battery. And so my bike just stalled, and I couldn't get it running again, and had to borrow a bike to do my road test. Then I got my license, and then my bike was still broken down, and so I had to fix it, put a new voltage regulator on there, a new battery, and I figured out that that was the problem with it. And then since then I've just been riding it. I'm going to slide these flanges back. Let me show you something. I'm going to put some tape on this paint here, just so that this flange isn't rubbing against the paint, because the flange has got a corner on it, like an edge. I'd rather have a rub on the tape there than put a mark in the paint there that I'll never be able to get out. There we go. That's kind of easy. Now look at this. That's quite the bulge there. Looks like it was squished from the clamp. So I'm going to look and see if there's a trail of carbon up the back side of this. If there is, that's kind of like technically an exhaust leak. Oh yeah, look at that, eh? Okay, well that's the exhaust off. That's all there is to it, and those two mufflers I pulled off and all the heat shields. That's not much of an exhaust system. It's fairly minimal. I'm just not a big fan of the routing of it and the way it looks. I really love the old knucklehead, panhead, early like duo glide style exhaust systems. I'm not a big fan of these shotgun pipes. Maybe they work better. Maybe the performance is better. The flow is better. I'm not sure. But I'm going to build my own custom exhaust for this thing. That's going to be kind of a throwback to the old single-sided FL exhaust from back in the day, like the late knucklehead, early panhead era. So you guys will just have to wait and see. Take this tape off before it gets glue everywhere. And look at that, hey? That is why I put it on, because that would have been a mark in the paint instead of a hole in this useless dollar store painter's tape that's not worth anything. Something else I wanted to show you is how filthy this thing is. See if I can turn the light on. There we go. This thing is so filthy. My base gaskets are done, and I should probably be like taking this thing fully apart, fixing that stuff, but that's not going to make it look cool. It's going to make it look clean, like it never gets ridden. And I want to make this thing look like I want it to look. And so doing that other stuff that's more responsible is kind of more boring to do. So yeah, but I really regret not just washing this thing on the last nice day that I had, instead of like changing my timing sensor. And this is what I did, and it took me forever to try to, I was trying to mess with the old connector for the ignition module, and then I realized you can't really reuse them, and I figured, well, I'll just you know, connect them together and shrink tube over. But I'm actually going to put a proper weatherproof connector on there. I got the fancy crimp pliers and everything, and all the stuff to do that. So I'm going to be doing that one day, because I realized if I ever have to take the engine out, which I'm going to at some point, it's inevitable, I'm going to want to be able to just unplug a connector here instead of having to cut wires and redo everything. And one more thing. So as you guys probably saw on my last video, I cleaned these up, which required a lot more welding and grinding. I filled all of this with weld on both sides, this big divot that was here from where the struts came from. But this divot here on this, it actually carried on all the way into here. You can kind of see the outline of the weld. But so I had to do a ton of welding and grinding, and I did not wear gloves, and I've got a sunburn on my back of my hand and wrist. You might not be able to see it in this light, but it hurt the next day. And so if you're doing if you're doing a project like this with a whole bunch of welding where one of your hands is basically just sitting like this, steadying the welder tip, nozzle, whatever, make sure to wear gloves and avoid sunburns.